Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or hello from Prostějov, which is a small city on Moravian side of Czech Republic. Welcome on my webinar, which is called Protection and Quality of the Optical Network Distribution Point. My name is Pavel Schuster, and I work for company PLP, or if you want Perform Line Products, as a key account manager. And I would like to welcome you again all on this webinar, where we will focus exactly on distribution point. So let's start it. One more thing, on the right side of the chat, there is a chat window, and during the webinar you can place your questions. By the time we finish the webinar, I will try to answer all your questions. Alrighty then. Distribution point. Distribution point. We have a different type or different forms of distribution points in fiber optic network. It can be either wall or pole-mounted optical cabinet, or let's say enclosure or box. Usually, it's placed indoor as well as outdoor. It means it can be placed inside the, let's say, basement, or also on a facade, or on the telecommunication pole. Then we can have a so-called pillar or cabinet, which is placed on the street. And third option are the optical closure. We call it dome closures, which are usually placed again either in a manhole underground. Those closures are usually IP68 rated, and or it can be also placed on the pole. Okay, so let's first stage let's speak about the protection. It is very important that our distribution point is somehow protected, and let's divide different type of protections we have. Very important is a locking system. There is a RC norm, which basically say how strong is the how many minutes take to enter the cabinet through the lock. But usually in the wall-mounted distribution points, we don't use usually lock because it's in very high position. But where is it wall-mounted, we can use we can use key lock. Usually the key lock is very simple, and it's against unauthorized entry. There are some cases where we don't need to use a lock. First case is if it's in a private place where only maybe one family live, in case it's indoor, or it can be also in case where we place the distribution point for example, by the ceiling on upper position. Second protection is protection which we call IP, and it is ingress and object and dust and water protection. We have several, there is always written IP and then the two numbers. First number is saying dust, how protected is the distribution point against dust, and second number is water. Usually indoor we don't really care about the IP coverage, but when we place the distribution point outdoor, then in that case we usually use IP54, in some rare cases 44, but usually it's 54 or 55 in Europe. For example, in location where is too much humidity or it's close to the seaside or so on, we use also higher rated enclosures or boxes with IP65 or 66. Then, for example, IP67 is already water resistant. It means we can keep it 1 meter under the water level for 1 minute. And IP68, which is the highest rating of the IP coverage, is it must be defined. It's, for example, say 5 meter under the water for 5 hours. Yeah. So IP68 is always great to have when it's under the ground. So this is the IP protection. And then we have also resistance to mechanical shocks, which we called IK. Oops, sorry. Which is called IK. And the highest number of IK is 10. And it's saying that the weight 5 kilos is dropped from the height of 400 millimeters. Later on, I'll show you some pictures so you will understand how we tested internally. Yeah, on the picture you can see those pictures are actually from the real field, real installation. This picture you can see that the street cabinet was damaged by a car accident, and basically the cabinet was broken on the part, and you can have any type of IK resistant but still get damage. And last, what you shall watch is UV resistance and weather protection. UV resistance is nowadays very important because let's say market like Germany and Austria, they don't like anymore ABS cabinets or polyester cabinets with the reinforced glass, but they prefer polycarbonate cabinets. So those are UV stable. And what we do, if in case you have a polyester cabinet, it's very good to have some extra protection. So in that case, I recommend to use extra polish on the top or varnishing, where you put the transparent varnish, and then usually the lifetime of the cabinet is prolonged by, let's say, 5 years, and then you don't see those pieces of glass coming out after a short time when is it installed in the field. So, and keep in mind, if you are purchasing distribution point, enclosure or box, which should be placed outside, don't purchase it when is it made of ABS material, because then the lifetime on the sun is much shorter than any other materials like PCABS or mentioned polycarbonate. Testing. When the distribution point closure box is made, manufactured, or designed, in the beginning design, then it must go through many type of tests, which are nowadays required not only by the large European operators, but also by distributors, which they closely watch the quality. So usually the companies who do the design and development of the new products and manufacturing of the product, they do internal tests before they go to certified laboratory. There is not too many certified laboratories in Europe, and also there is not even one which they can perform all the required tests. About the norms for those tests, I will speak later on. But before I go on, just made few videos how it is done internally before it goes to the certified laboratory. So first video you can see is just example of testing for IP grommet system. It means we are testing, in this case, grommets. They are resistant to the water. Let me put the video on. You can see it's just splashing or spraying the water on a grommet system under certain pressure, and that's how it is done in many factories. And second video, here we have a complete grommet system where we are testing a case where you need to slice the grommet. It means if you want to use mid-span inside the box, or you have a pre-terminated cables and you need to pass the connector through, sometimes you need to slice the grommet. So this video is showing a water test, what happens if you slice the grommet. And very interesting is that these metal rollers are different sizes, and its difference in diameter is only 0.2 millimeters. So you can see that every millimeter count. And let's see the video then. You can see that in this case water was placed inside the cabinet or inside the box, And you can see that only right side, or the grommet on the right side, is working. Okay, second group of the test, it's about the IKEY system. It means IKEY testing before sending to the certified testing laboratory. You see the video is already going on. So here you have those 400 millimeters weight of 5 kilos, and you can see it's not easy because not too many boxes or enclosures can fulfill this requirement. Second video, it's a small dome closure, or not dome closure, small closure which is extremely resistant to the vandalism. And as you can see, those small closures are used in some of the European countries to connect the family houses, and the distribution point, in this case this small closure, is placed in the pavement or under the pavement in a not really deep hole, but it's only, let's say, 20 to 40 centimeters under the tiles. So and this was very interesting because the customers was requiring to make an internal test with the minivan. So you see that simply minivan can go through, and the closure stay as it was before, which shows the very good quality. Yeah, and this when I mentioned those installation under the pavement, it's mostly done in Netherlands. All right, yeah. So now let's speak about the norms. The norms which are required in Europe are called IEC norms. For example, in US or in America, they use Telecordia norms, and in some of the countries they have their own specific norms. Like in Germany, they use this norm DIN, and you can also later on see that in color coding of the pigtails and so on. DIN is different, IEC is different, so on. So this norm 61300 is divided on 4 categories. One category is C, which is for indoor installation. A is for outdoor installation, aerial. G is for outdoor ground level environmental, and which is the pillars. And S is underground. It means those dome closures. It is quite expensive to fulfill all the norms and let the new product be tested. Just for your interest, it's about 100,000 euros for one product to perform all the tests. And to be honest, I know many companies in different countries which they try to, let's say, purchase low-cost products so that they will save some money. But later on, with our help, they had to replace the housing, the protection, the distribution point for high quality product because they had a really trouble with their network. And later on, they find out that it was a big mistake in the beginning to use low-cost products. Let's go back to the norms. Here you can see a few examples, and this is category A. What needs to be performed and what kind of test must be done. It is quite difficult procedures because when you do one test, you need to then measure and check the test which you performed before. For example, if you do cable bending, you need to check again the IP coverage and so on. So there is like a torsion and different type of vibration shocks, fixation of the cable and so on. So as I said, it's very expensive procedures, and it's taken time to perform all the tests. And again, there is no one single laboratory in Europe which they can perform all the tests. Usually you need to do it in different laboratories, or also you need to do it internally in your own lab. All right, so no more norms, which they are always difficult. And let's go the other factors which can extend your life of your network. First one, which we always, it's always good to ask the manufacturer of the product is the warranty. By the law is usually 2 years, but some of the reliable manufacturers, they provide bigger bigger warranty, sometimes 5 years. So it's always good to know. And another thing is communication. It's always good if something happens that the manufacturer or communicate or there is any kind of support. I'll give you an example. We had a customer in the past which was purchasing some of the optical street cabinets, and then in the second year of supply, he changed the supplier of the microducts, and he started to use different diameters. And he find out that the product which he used to buy are for diameter 10 millimeters, but nowadays he uses 12 millimeters. And then he couldn't fit the microduct inside the cabinet. Then what you would do? Yeah, you should contact the manufacturer and ask him solve the solution, which they did, and we help them. So if you buy a product, make sure that there is always some backup for you. So there is some person or there is some group of people which they can help you solve your problems which you have in your network. Another thing are spare parts. Spare parts are very important because why to buy a new car if you can just change the flat tire? Yeah, so make sure that the spare parts for products are available. Example, if you buy a street cabinet and somebody break the door, make sure that you can get the spare doors from the manufacturer in a short period of time, and you can exchange them, because why to change a complete cabinet? All right, and another things which can perform your network are assembly quality. Assembly quality is very, very important, and as you know, nowadays where most of the countries in Europe are building the network, there is a shortage of the good technicians or good installers. So what is important that the installers are trained. Every manufacturer should have a training courses available where the installers can learn how to do the installation in the field, and the training of the technicians is very important. What you shouldn't do, learn in the field, because then you have so much trouble later on. Just get trained from the manufacturer or from the distributor, and you will see that then also installation in the field will be much easier. Another thing which is very important is assembly instruction. It means manual instruction. In the past, there used to be a manual instruction in paper form placed inside the closure box pillar. But what happened if you go after 2 years inside and you need to change something, for example, add customers or add more fibers inside or whatever, we will not find it. So what we do now, we put QR code inside, and there is this very important, read the QR code, and so you can see how the installation shall be done. Because if you don't follow the manual instructions, usually you have a troubleshooting later on in your network, and there is nothing else more important than to read assembly instruction. And of course, routine. Don't change the suppliers very often, because as you have one supplier with the components and you start to use a different one, then again you need to put all the accessories on stock as well, and it's difficult for the installers. So try to stick with one supplier and use the same components in complete network, in whole network. It means don't use in one part of the network the cables from one company, another part of the network from other companies. Same with distribution points. Distribution point shall be the same around the complete network. Alrighty, then I have one more slide. Yes, correct. I have one more slide what is also important for your distribution point and for your network and for the future needs are basically the things which you will need for the future. Third thing is you need to have a good project. It means the planner needs to create very good fiber network plan on very good fiber planning level. So, and every time in the field, if there is any type of change, you need to reflect that in final documentation. That's good for later reinstallation, adding the cables or whatever. So always when you do any change, it must be done in the final documentation, draw in final documentation where you can see that actually there was a change. Another thing which is very important is geodetic surveying. Sometimes they don't do it properly, and believe me, to avoid digger syndrome where the guy in the bugger is digging all over and he cannot find the cable or the right spot. So geodetic surveying is very, very important for your network or for your distribution. Last thing, during the installation, make a photo documentation. The main reason is, first of all, in case of complaint or reclamation, you have a documentation, then it's done. And second, imagine that after 2 years, there is a group of installers which will go inside this box or cabinet and do some adjustments or reinstallation. If you look at the picture in the office, you already know what to get from your warehouse, what type of, let's say, pigtails or maybe grommets or splice trays. And then you don't need to go twice on that place to see what you will need because you have a good photo documentation. Well, we are getting by end of the presentation. I would like to thank you for watching, and let's see if we will have any type of questions on the right side of the panel, and I will definitely answer them in a short time. Again, thank you very much, and I wish you that you have a good quality network, and I see you next time in some other webinars. If you have any suggestions you'd like to know, let me know. I will try to prepare a webinar on your request. Okay, so for those who are still online, I see we have 2 questions. One is why some of the companies asking for IP40 protection, even the cabinets are installed indoors. The answer is simple. It's about the protection. They are afraid of 2 things. One is dust, which is because dust is everywhere, not only outside but also inside the building. And second issue is that IP40 means that they're going to be only 1 millimeter space holes in the enclosure. It means somebody could put, for example, some kind of stick or nail or wire inside and damage the fiber optic cables inside. So that's the reason why some of the companies asking for IP40. It's about the protection against the dust and against the vandalism. A second question which I have here is what are the differences and benefits of aerial optical network compared to an underground one? Okay, so difference is basically the main difference is price, of course, because to do the network on the existing poles or facade is much cheaper than to dig and place the network under the ground. First, so it's about the price, the money. Second one is time, because if you want to dig, you need to get so many permissions. And third reason is installation time. It means it's easier to do the installation in aerial network where everything is accessible by a ladder or crane or whatever, than if you have it under the ground in the chambers. So those are the main reasons why differences between the aerial or underground network. What I saw is that, for example, Portugal, Spain, they always do aerial network on facades. Even they have a really old and historical buildings, they simply use the existing facade and they put all the cables and closures on facade, compared to Germany or Czech Republic, where we put everything under the ground. And I cannot imagine, for example, historical city like Prague to see some enclosures on facade of some old buildings. It's something what we cannot accept here. But in some of the countries, it's acceptable and it's used. Okay, I have no more question here, see. So again, thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I'm looking forward to cooperate with you next time. Goodbye.